Hey YouTube, it's Eric. I've been rearranging tonight just some of my PDF files on my computer, and I've been creating a few folders for all the academic journals that I've been collecting over the last year or so. But I decided I'm gonna show you guys how you can download all these journals. I'm gonna recommend. I have like 16 of them loaded up on my PDF reader. All these journals, and the journals that I picked to recommend you guys are specifically on Vatican involvement in political movements. But all these journals you can read for free off of the site called Library Genesis. The website is called libgen.io. I'll show you. I linked a tutorial video on how to download journals from LibGen in the description, but I'm going to show you just an example of how to download one. But if you're having trouble with it, I linked this video, how to download paid journal for free. And you can't in this video, like the journals I'm showing you, like it's probably worth like $300 worth of journals. But this is the website here. So when you go to Library Genesis, so I'll show you. Um, Before I start, I thought this was really interesting. I found out just today that the CIA like mass torturer Dan Mitrione was a devout Roman Catholic. Dan Mitrione was very close with Jim Jones, and there's information in um um what's this guy's name? John Judge, sorry. John Judge's article. John Judge has done some YouTube videos, but John Judge shows in his article called "The Black Hole in Guyana" that Jim Jones was a childhood friend of Dan Mitrione. He shows how Mitrione was involved in torture programs, and it was when Mitrione was stationed in South America that Jones uh, began his CIA activity in South America. But just quickly here, Dan Mitrione, this Catholic Reverend Robert M.J. Minton, pastor of the Holy Family Catholic Church, where Dan Mitrione worshipped a decade ago, looked directly at the widow and the 9 children of the former Richmond police chief. Again, Dan Mitrione was literally like a torture specialist. You can watch go to covertactionquarterly.com. There's a good documentary on that website called what's it called? I'll show you I forget the name of the documentary. After I read you this quote, I'll show you how to read it. It actually the documentary shows archive footage in Uruguay of this Uruguayan testifying that Dan Mitrione's torture program was literally making like these Uruguayan people into guinea pigs. We see here the Reverend M.J. Minton, pastor of the Holy Family Catholic Church, said the CIA torture specialist Dan Mitrione, God was no stranger to him. He illustrated ideals to be a full Christian man, and when the time came for him to die, he would be unafraid. For death is not an ending, it is a beginning. So the Catholic Church was blessing this mass murderer. You can see that in the New York Times archive story, August 4th, 1970, titled Rogers Among Mourners as Mitrione is Buried. But I'll show you how to get to that documentary really quick, and then I'm going to get to the journals. Um, but I'll show you like the actual footage of this Uruguayan testifying against Dan Mitrione. Yeah, so you go to it's covertactionmagazine.com, and you go to audio video. I just forget the name of the. It says they did a three-part documentary on the CIA. I think it's called Inside the CIA. Oh, on company business. Yeah, so this part one on company business. This is the documentary. But yeah, this is how. Oh, my computer is freezing up there. Okay, so to the articles here. So this is the first one. I thought this was really interesting. I'm an economics student. I just got my degree, so I haven't really looked into the Jesuit connections into the field of economics, and this article here is a good first step. I'm gonna look more into it now after reading this article. And again, you can read this for free. I'll show you how to get this like a free articles off LibGen with this one as an example. This article is titled "Contribution of German and American Jesuits to Economics the Last 100 Years." In this article. It's actually interestingly, it's revealed. I'll just show you quickly. This one Jesuit is said to have authored the papal encyclical Quadrasmo Anno. which was like the papal encyclical that was adopted by all of the fascist nations in the world. Yeah, where was it? Give me a second here. Yeah, Oswald von Neilbruning S.J. Um, yeah, so Oswald von Runing S.J. is noteworthy because he is reported to have drafted Quadrasmo Anno for Pius XI. I thought that was interesting. There's lots of interesting the whole Jesuit idea to economics is shown in this article. Very good. Um, but actually, yeah. So I'm going to show you how to get the free articles with this one as an example. So when you go into LibGen, you take the title of the article. Okay, so here's the documentary on Dan Mitrione. I'll show you that in a second. So when you're going into journals, you can if you want to search for full books on LibGen, you go search in the LibGen SciTech bar. But if you want to search for journals, click in the scientific articles bar. Then you copy and paste the title of the article, and then it'll pop up. So the article pops up here, and then you on the left, all these different links will get you the PDF. I click the LibGen link. Click the link and then click get from Vault, and the PDF will like download for you, and then you can click it and then put it in a folder. That's how you get the free journals. So that's the first one, contribution of German American Jesuits to economics. This one is a really good article here. Eugene Boyle, the Black Panther Party and the New Clerical Advocatism, by Jeffrey Burns and the U.S. Catholic Historian, summer 1995. This is authored. This is our fully illustrated. This Eugene Boyle is a Jesuit priest, and this article shows how like this Jesuit priest and many other Jesuits and Roman Catholics were um, like working hand in hand with the Black Panther Party. Like you'll see, like the Black Panther Party was actually their headquarters was in a Catholic church in San Francisco, and in that church, this author talks about how the Catholics would or the young blacks were shown pictures of white police officers depicted as pigs, and like read between the lines of like that's a way to incite racial division, and it's a control mechanism. This is a good article here. You can get it for free. This one's interesting here. I've almost gone through this one fully. I haven't gone through this one fully yet, but this was very good here. It's called "The Wealth of the Jesuits in Mexico, 1670 to 1767," by James D. Riley in the source, The Americas Journal, Volume 33, October 1976, published by the Cambridge University Press. Interesting information here. This is a lot of like art. This kind of reminded me of reading David Kurtzer's books on the papacy, because like a lot of this is just archival research, so it's very useful. Yeah, and the Jesuits had millions of dollars. You see like Jesuit land here, 8 million pesos. um, and I haven't gone through all these articles yet, but like I've downloaded a bunch of them. I have gone through like 6 or 7 of them, but I downloaded a bunch of them, and I'm just gonna it'll be like reading for me for the next couple months. This article is really good here. It's called "The Knights of Columbus: Lay Activism from the Origins Through the Great Depression." By this was again published by the U.S. Catholic Historian, Volume 9, Number 3, Labor and Lay Movements, published by the Catholic University of America Press. And I advise you, if you're watching this, if you want to download all these journals, when you're playing the video back, just pause the video when the title comes up, so you can uh, like search up this journal, then copy and paste the title into LibGen, so you can read it for free. This article is fully illustrated as well. There's some really interesting photos. I'll show you an example of one. Here's 5,000 Knights of Columbus were present on June 8th, 1912, for the unveiling of the Columbus Memorial in front of Union Station. Um, this was a good article. You see, there was this high-profile Jew, this Goldstein Jew. Oh, where was that? I don't want to spend too much time on each journal because the video would be really long. Yeah, but this David Goldstein was like a high level, like he was a powerful banker who converted to Catholicism and became a Knight of Columbus. Lots of interesting information like that. This is another article on the Knights of Columbus. This one's really I read this just now tonight. It was very good. Called "To Arouse and Inform the Knights of Columbus in the United States-Mexican Relations, 1924 to 1937." Uh, this is from what I've seen. This author teaches at a secular university, but it was published by the Catholic Historical Review, July 2002. published by the Catholic University of America Press. Yeah, this article was good here. Very good. It was like 25 pages. This one is fascinating here. That this is called a proposed alliance between the Order of Malta and the United States, 1794. This actually article like blew me away because like this is when James Monroe was an American minister in Paris. Like, and he was secretly negotiating with Napoleon because America at this time Louisiana was French territory. But like this was like a full on. The Knights of Malta proposed to engage in diplomatic relations with the United States in 1794, and like the document is reproduced here. You see, this is like the reproduced document to Minister Monroe charge d'affaires of Malta from the Commander de Cibonne. So, so the United States, like this was proposed diplomatic relations. So I thought that was very interesting. I haven't gone through this whole article yet, but I've read the whole treaty, and it was fascinating. But yeah, this is titled "A Proposed Alliance Between the Order of Malta and the United States, 1794." Author Edgar Erskine Hume. Source William and Mary Quarterly, April 1936. Here's the next one. This I haven't gone through this, but I'm looking forward to it. I think this is going to be very interesting. This is the Knights of Malta and the King of France, 1665 to 1700, by Paul Weydon Bamford, in the French Historical Studies, Volume 3, Number 4, Autumn 1964, page 429 to 453. Um, yeah, so this is it centers on Louis the 15th. But the Knights of Malta I've read like a few pages, and the Knights of Malta were very prevalent in Louis the 15th's administration. And this is Louis the 15th was present when the Jesuits were suppressed, in the late 1700s. So like that kind of shows that the Jesuits to mask their suppression, um, that would make sense why like the Knights of Malta would have an um, increased diplomatic ties with Louis the 15th around this time, because the Jesuits went underground, and then Scottish Rite Masonry and the Illuminati became like the fronts for Jesuit power at this time. But the Knights of Malta and the King of France, 1665 to 1700. This one is very good here. I actually reposted this on my blog, Jesuit World Order, but the Jesuit contribution to theater. And this is a very good article because there's so much Jesuit theater going on in the world today. But the author is Henry Schlinkler. Source: the Education Theater Journal, Volume 4, Number 4, December 1952, published by the Johns Hopkins University Press. You'll see like the Jesuits actually like invented like the modern in terms of like a modern stage play, like a modern director, broadcasting, and like the idea of like a using a screen to display images for an audience. Like the Jesuits like were the innovators of it. Very interesting information. This article is interesting here. Jesuit education and slavery in Kentucky, 1832 to 1868. This article actually covered Georgetown University came out recently and apologized for selling, I think it was like 150 slaves in 1832. That's mentioned in this article, and just lots of other information on how the Jesuits utilized slaves in their colleges all over the United States. But this article focuses on Kentucky. Author is C. Walker Goller, published in the Register of the Kentucky Historical Society, volume number 8, number 3, summer 2010. Yeah, this is 38 pages. Some of these journals are longer, like this Knights of Malta and King Louis journal is 26 pages. The journal I showed, the Jesuit Wealth in Mexico, is like 46 pages. Some of them are longer than the others. This is an interesting journal here. This is on Robert Brent, who is the first mayor of Washington, D.C., who is like a descendant of the Jesuit priest John Carroll, who founded Georgetown. Robert Brent, therefore, was also a descendant of the Calvert dynasty, Catholic British aristocrats. Um, Interestingly, just in the biography I have on the Jesuit Toby Matthew, Toby Matthew is known as Sir Francis Bacon's alter ego. Um, Toby Matthew is said to have converted in that biography on him that I have. It was Toby Matthew who converted Lord Baltimore the First, George Calvert, to Catholicism. But lots of interesting information. Information also how Robert Brent was affiliated with like banks in this time. Also, like he was the president of the Patriot Bank for one. But the first mayor of Washington D.C. was a devout Catholic. That being Robert Brent. And most of these journals that I download are accessed via JSTOR. It seems like this is a really interesting one here. If you're not aware, the third edition of Sir Isaac Newton's Principia was edited by the Jesuits. You could That's sourced also on the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. That the Principia was edited by the Jesuits. Yeah, I'm gonna pull up my phone here to see if yeah, pulling up my phone here. Hey, what's up, guys? Um, yeah, actually, I plan on doing another video on Mark Passio armchair because I saw a video he did recently, and I saw that he had a Roman laurel wreath in his right on the logo. It it was a job that or it was a video where he was telling that people like you need to quit your job, like you're a moral trash. But no, it was a very offensive video. It would just more piss people off than wake them up type of thing. But yeah, like, I'm gonna do another video on Mark Passio for sure. This this journal here though is very interesting on the Jesuit edition of Newton's Principia. I'm still going through this one. But I remember if you watched the video I did, I read it. H.P. Blavatsky commenting on Sir Isaac Newton. But if you can read these yourself, type in Newton letters to Bentley. I forget this guy's first name, but type in Newton's letters to Bentley. You'll see that Sir Isaac Newton said that like the cause of gravity, is not material. It's not known if it's material or immaterial. And the Jesuits were propounding a physical cause of gravity when Newton said that gravity he did you can't Newton actually said it would be absurd to say that gravity is caused from pure material forces. Um, yeah, this I'm still going through this though, but this article I think is just pictures of the Jesuit edition as well. You see, like, the Jesuit edition was written in Latin. Yeah, and there's some mathematics in this book as well. So I plan. I'm looking forward to going through it. Um, I put this article on my blog too, but this is really good. This was done by the Journal of Church and State, Volume 26, Issue 2, 1984, published by Oxford University Press. It's titled it's an editorial, The U.S. Ambassador to the Vatican by James E. Wood Jr. This is a great whole entire history of the United States diplomatic relations to the Vatican. In particular, it covers well how the Scottish Rite Mason President James Polk, who attended the Jesuit Georgetown University um, commencements annually and sent his son to Jesuit Georgetown, uh, President Polk initiated relations with the Vatican by initiating a charge d'affaires uh, to the Vatican, which is like one level under an ambassador. And you see here, I send a charge d'affaires to the Papal States. But this is a very good a journal here. This is another really good journal. This one is great, actually. I was going through this a couple days ago. Cuba, Religion and Revolutionary Institutionalization by Margaret E. Cranon, published in the Journal of Latin American Studies, Volume 17, Issue 2, November 1985. This was a very good article. Um, Very interestingly, like, there's good information on Manuel Artime in this article. Manuel Artime was a Jesuit trained psychologist who was in Castro's government, who started a Catholic Revolutionary Army, which was then used by the CIA in one of their supposed 500 assassination attempts against Castro. And then Artime, after the assassination, flew back to America, and you can see him in a picture with John F. Kennedy. But like in this article, it said that Artime like was recruited to the CIA from a Jesuit priest. And is it this, the Jesuit trained Fidel Castro? Fidel Castro said that religion and socialism like are the same, like they're in harmony. There's some really interesting quotes, and there's how the interesting like how, I thought it was interesting how the Vatican had a papal nuncio stationed in Cuba. Those relations started in 1961. And Castro was Jesuit trained. Like a group of Jesuits like met at Belen Jesuit Prep, Castro's alumni school in 1964, to like set out like the social plan for the country. Very intriguing information in this article or journal. This is another really good one here. This was called "Heretics, Slaves, and Witches as Seen by Guinea Jesuits, 1610." There's lots of this is very good information. In particular, this journal article shows how like the Jesuits used the devil so superstitiously. I think to manipulate their flock into just blindly following them by blaming everything that goes against the Jesuits' wishes on the devil. But there's a very interesting information on the like like the Jesuit Buria affects cures by prayers and holy relics, but witches also effective cures. Quote, whether because of the faith the Africans have in them or because the devil is applying some remedy. Comparing to this Jesuit, all the Africans were possessed by devils and demons. Um, Actually, as we're saying here, Burroughs alleged that like the Jesuit says that the leading Muslim cleric was taught by his master Satan. Like like the, I'm trying to pull this up here. Actually, yeah, so the Jesuits were blaming the devil for a storm which almost wrecked their ship. The volcano on the Fogo Island was work of the devil. Like, and it's a good article just on the history of the Jesuits also in Guinea. But like, I thought that was, like, you see like the character of the Jesuits and how they use mass superstition well in that article. I read this journal article out on my video on the Jesuit connection to Emperor Akbar. But this is very good information. Akbar the Great, 1542 to 1605, in Christianity between the religion and politics, by Agnensky Krzyzewski Fraz, and published by the Jagiellonian University in Krakow, Poland. Continuing to go through the articles here. I have read this one. This is a good article here. It's called Pope Eugenio the Fourth and the Jewish Money Lending in Florence: The Case of Salmone di Bonaventura during the Chancellorship of Leonardo Bruni. Authors Andrew Gow and Gordon Griffiths. Source: The Renaissance Quarterly, Volume 47, Number 2, 1994, published by the University of Chicago Press. This was very good information. And you'll see in this book how like the Jewish bankers at this time had to have permission from the papacy and like the Catholic um, like the present Catholic rulership. The Jews had to have permission to bank under Catholic jurisdiction. Well, there's very interesting history just on the banking scene in Florence at this time. I haven't gone through this one. Actually just downloaded this before this video because the title caught my eye, but I haven't gone through this. But this is titled "Jewish Money, Jesuit Censors, and the Habsburg Monarchy: Politics and Polemics in Early Modern Prague." Author Joshua Teplitsky. Source: The Jewish Social Studies, Volume 19, Number 3, Spring Summer 2013, published by the Indiana University Press. Yeah, the article sounds very interesting. Um, Yeah, like I'm looking forward to reading it. That's all I can say. It looks very interesting. I haven't gone through all of these. I've gone through this one. I accessed this on JSTOR. This is an article or a journal entry Edward L. Bernays did. You can find. I've read excerpts from Edward Bernays' 1928 book Propaganda on my channel, and I recommend you guys get Propaganda. Yes, this journal entry was published the same year Bernays wrote Propaganda. This article is called "Manipulating Public Opinion: The Why and the How" by Edward L. Bernays. Bernays was actually then used. Like he worked for the CIA in their takedown of Arbenz in Guatemala in 1954. And Bernays, interestingly, was hired by the Knight of Malta, John J. Raskob, to do propaganda for the fascist Liberty League organization. which were all the fascist fat cats in Wall Street, and the papal chamberlain Al Smith, Roman Catholic, um, Supreme Order of Christ, was the president of the Liberty League. Yeah, this is a good article here by Edward Bernays. Honestly, I haven't looking at some of the comments, Michael. I haven't like I never really watched any of Crow 777's videos. Like I always suspected he was a show, but like I am I'll watch some of his videos, pick apart some of the stuff he says, and I'm sure he does gatekeep ultimately for the Vatican because like Mark Passio, he gives like these rulers like no name. He never identifies the force that's in control. This is a really good article here. This is on the cult. I'm gonna botch this pronunciation. Sorry to my if anyone's German here. Cult Kurkampf. This was the anti-Jesuit laws in Germany in 1872. So Cult Kurkampf and the Unification, German Liberalism, and the War Against the Jesuits. Author Michael B. Gross. Source Central European History, Volume 30, Number 4, 1997. Published by the Cambridge University Press on behalf of the Conference Group for Central European History. This is an interesting article because it's just lots of like archival information in the article, and so I recommend it. There's the title. If you're watching this video back, you just pause the video on each title and make sure you get it so you can. And all these journals I'm showing you can get for free. This was an interesting journal here. I've gone through like 20 pages of this, but it shows how AP Giannini like had the power to get people off the Federal Reserve Board. And he had influence in the California elections. AP Giannini was the Knight of Malta who founded Bank of America, who Aber Manhattan and Der Spiegel magazine claimed that AP Giannini was used as a straw man by the Jesuit order. And like the Avro and Der Spiegel say that the Jesuits gave Giannini half of his startup capital, and Giannini was made a Knight of Malta in 1929. This is an interesting article here, published by the University of California Press by Richard Antogini. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. This was a interesting article here. This was like kind of a whitewash because the author was a Jesuit, but this is called "The Jesuits and Joe McCarthy," published by Cambridge University Press in 1977 on behalf of the American Society of Church History. Um, yeah, you see, it talks about the relationship between the Jesuits and Joseph McCarthy, how they met in 1930. Goes into the relationship with Walsh and McCarthy and other Jesuits and McCarthy as well. I haven't read this, and it's been like 7 months since I've gone through this. But this is good information. But it's read by a Jesuit, so there's some, you know, nonsense in the article as well, just gatekeeping. But there is some good information between the lines. This is a really good article here. This is called "The Militant Collective: The Jesuits and Leninists" by Louis A. Kosser. This is the source, Social Research, Volume 40, Number 4, Spring 1973, pages 110 to 128. I put this article reposted on my blog, Jesuit World Order. But this author here shows very brilliantly how the Jesuits and the Leninists have almost identical organizational structures. A very good journal entry here. I think the article is like 26 pages or 23 pages, 28 pages. Another one I got up here is "The Jesuits and the Fur Trade" by Bruce G. Trigger. Winter published the Ethnohistory, Volume 12, Number 1, Winter 1965, Duke University Press. I haven't gone through this yet, but I am going to go through this because a lot of this journal entry is on the fur trade in Quebec and northern Canada at this time. So I think it'll be very interesting information. But this one's called "The Jesuits and the Fur Trade." Another journal that you guys need to get that I don't have up here. This is a journal entry on the Joseph Rettinger. Joseph Rettinger, S.J., was the Jesuit who was the brains of the Bilderberg Group. This journal entry was fantastic here. I was reading this today. This is packed with information, and all the footnotes are jam packed. Like I found out Joseph Rettinger was the Polish. He was on the Polish side when, like, he was the Polish agent representing Poland when Poland reinitiated diplomatic relations with Soviet Russia. Which had the Jesuit trained Joseph Stalin at the head at that time. But this is called Spy, Patriot, or Internationalist: The Early Career of Joseph Rettinger, Polish Patriarch of the European Union. And this article goes into Rettinger's Jesuitical Catholic background in great detail. This is 46 pages. There's a quote from the German Kaiser. There's lots of information on Lidichowski in this journal too. But interestingly, like the Kaiser of Germany, and if you've read Leo Lehman's pamphlet, the Vatican responsibility in the Second World War, or Vatican involvement in the World War II, and Peter J. Doiswick's book, Catholic Victory in 1960, they quote the Kaiser of Germany in his memoir book. And the Kaiser of Germany in World War I said that the Pope Benedict XV told the Kaiser that Germany was to be the sword of the Catholic Church. But the German Kaiser regarded Lidichowski, the superior general, um, as, quote, the whole unsavory Parmen-Rome-Habsburg campaign of agitation is represented, inspired, and directed by the Jesuit general Count Lidichowski, end quote. That's what the Kaiser of Germany said. Quoted in Fritz Fischer's book, Germany Aims in the First World War. But this article is really packed with information, like lots on Lidichowski as well. And I have Joseph Rettinger's memoir book, titled Memoirs of Eminence Grise, and this journal article analyzes Rettinger's book in great detail. There's like over 120 sources used, but and you'll see Rettinger was like all over the place. Like he like in terms of like he was close with over four prime ministers of England, and like he was widely suspected at the time of being like an English agent as well. There's the so yeah, this is the title: Spy, Patriot, or Internationalist: The Early Career of Joseph Rettinger, Polish Patriarch of the European Union. It's a very good journal article there. Let me see if there's any others in my folder that I missed. Actually, there's a journal that is in my Diego de Gardequi. Give me a second. There's a couple journals that I linked in the description and or throughout the post that I put together here on Jesuit World Order, this Diego de Gardequi post. But there's a journal that you guys should read on this James White character. There's another journal here you can get for free. All these journals you can get for free. Just type in the title. And actually, this one you can download as a free PDF right off JSTOR. This is called The Early Proprietors of the Capitol Hill by Reverend Margaret Brent Downing. You see Margaret Brent? This Margaret Brent was related to the mayor of Washington, Robert Brent, who is a direct descendant of Jesuit priest John Carroll. And like you'll see in this article, like Tupper Saucy in his book talks about how like the territory where the U.S. Capitol building was erected was the territory of Jesuit-trained Roman Catholic like Senator Daniel Carroll, and that's mentioned also in this journal article. But it's titled "The Earliest Proprietors of the Capitol Hill" by Margaret Brent Downing. Good information in there, and there is also this journal article. I think you can download it for free right off JSTOR's website. Yeah, so when you click this journal article, it downloads right off their website. It's called Dr. James White, Pioneer, Politician, and Lawyer. Author Albert V. Goodspatcher. Source: The Tennessee Historical Magazine, Volume 1, Number 4, December 1915. Pages 282 to 291. This Dr. James White was the grandfather of Edward Douglas White, who was the United States Chief Justice when the Federal Reserve Act was signed. I'll just show you, if you are not aware, Edward Douglas White, very connected to the Jesuits. He even fought in the for the Confederacy in the Civil War. But you see here, Edward Douglas White. He was nominated by the Skull and Bonesman William Howard Taft, who was Franklin Roosevelt's personal representative to the Vatican, and William Howard Taft had a younger cousin, Robert Francis Taft, S.J., become a Jesuit priest. But Edward Douglas White was is a descendant of this James White right here, politician. Um, he was a North Carolinian congressman. And you see in this article, like, James White was meeting with Diego de Gardaquy, actually plotting to. He was being a traitor to the United States. He was plotting to annex part of Tennessee for the Spanish Empire, and you'll see like a lot of his intrigues in this short art. Actually, you know, and now we're on the topic, there's another one I want to show you. This was some of the Catholic conversions of some of the United States presidents up to 1910. I found a free journal article that you guys can read. This is in my blog post on John Tyler. Type in President John Tyler was close with the Jesuits on Google, and you'll see this. But here is the journal article here. You can read this for free, but as a PDF, you don't even have to go on LibGen. Just type in the title. But the title of this is called "Notes on Some Convert Relatives of the Presidents." Author Scannell O'Neill. Source: The Catholic Historical Review, Volume 2, Number 1, April 1916. Published by the Catholic University of America Press. It's just a list of conversions of each U.S. president. You see, like, there was lots of Catholics in George Washington's family, especially tons of Catholics. But it goes into all of the like the relatives of all these presidents who were Catholic. Um, yeah, but here's the title of this one again: Notes on some convert relatives of the presidents. But yeah, how's it going, everyone? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you guys are all watching. Yeah, I recommend you guys down all these journals you can get for free. So I highly recommend you get them. Oh, great to hear, Elliot. Yeah, I've been reading some of Joseph McCabe this week as well. In particular, his Black International books. And I think I saw a parallel. The researcher YouTuber Willow Gromo uses the term the Combine to uh, to describe the Jesuit mechanistic matrix of control, and McCabe uses the word Black International, but like he's describing that same mechanized force in those books. But yeah, McCabe, his books are great. um, yeah, at Aber Manhattan. I'm still trying to find. There's a book Abro did that's called The Dawn of Man that I've been looking for, but it's impossible to find. There's only like one Dawn of Man book like in a library in the world. It's in San Francisco. But it was yeah, like, I like how Joseph McCabe, like he was very literal too, and he was like he really gets you thinking, writing his books. It's like it's an assault of intellectualism, and it's good to read authors that do get you thinking like Joseph McCabe does. And Joseph McCabe, like, he really rips into, like, 'cause at his time, like, this was like the Jesuit Pierre Tard de Chardin, kicked off the New Age movement, and there were so many of these pseudo mystics popping up, and McCabe really rips into the pseudo mystics, which is nice. But yeah, I think I'm gonna call it here though, guys. Thanks everyone for watching. Yeah, yeah, all these journals I recommend you get, and like when you do get all these journals, like put them into like a folder like this, like on your PDF reader or whatever service you use to read online books, just so it's all easily accessible. Yeah, that's all for this one, YouTube. Peace and love, and namaste.